you open this thing? Have you opened your own? Jesus Christ. I'm screaming.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm not sure if my connection is good because
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited. We have quite timely. I heard the internet's not being funny. Sola, come through. Come through. Loving it.
Our video should be off.
Yeah. I just want to be sure that we're all. Hey, this is going to be an amazing day. I love it. Hi, Sally. Let me write my name appropriately while we are all looking gorgeous and amazing at the same time. I like a very participatory panel. People that don't stress me, they're timely. Hi, Sammy. Let's see your camera. Let's be sure everything is working, put together, nice and everything with the Lord Jesus. Amen. Okay. You guys, I was going to wear red lipstick. As if I knew that everybody was going to wear red. I decided not to wear it. And now all of you all have red lipstick. I think I should go put mine on now. Because at this point, I feel like I'm the one that is lacking.
I agree. Please put it on.
Hi. A very put together panel. Love it so much. So much.
Hi, everyone.
Look at these gorgeous women. Hey, God, the pictures don't do justice.
Washing.
Very happy. I'm impressed.
Serious washing.
No, I don't. Please, God forbid that we watch people in 2022. No, we tell the truth because, yeah. Hi, Sammy, you look gorgeous. Hi, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, you can. What happened to your voice? Yes, you can.
Okay, because I don't know, I have a problem with my laptop today.
The devil is at play. It's okay. Your enemies are trying to attack you. It won't happen. Okay, I think for the most part, we already have people coming in.
Nice.
What is what? Give me a sec. Hello? Hey. Let me, you know you have to register. Do you register? Ladies, give me like 2 minutes. Right back. Sorry.
So I remember seeing the email from one of us about that restriction when you're trying to sign in, saying it. And I experienced it just as I was joining. I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is a real thing. I wonder how people will navigate it though. Does it mean that you have to try it with the email? You must log in with the email that you registered.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's how like the Zoom webinars have been. They'll ask you to register and stuff. So if it's not that email, we'll just yank you off.
Yeah, I imagine that my default Zoom, because I opened it from my work email. So, I put it in my calendar. So I opened it from my work email.
I couldn't.
I imagine it will direct, take me directly, but I had to go find my yeah.
I thought Vanessa was going to quickly do intros before we start.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah, just know.
I guess we can do that.
Sorry, wait. Did we let people in without like, oh Jesus. Hello, hi, I'm just gonna move you back out to the waiting room. Sorry, moving you back out to the waiting room. Wait, Vanessa was supposed to do what?
Let's introduce us.
No, like who admitted people? Please don't admit anybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks. Don't worry.
No, I think she meant us that are here.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Don't worry. I want more people to come, so we can do like another, like we have like extra 5 minutes before everyone. Okay. Who is waiting? Everyone is here. Chioma, hi, finally. You made
Hi,
it.
Vanessa. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Chioma.
All right, ladies and ladies and ladies. Hi, my name is Vanessa Junobasi. I am head of communications and growth. It's funny to say it even now because I've been talking to all of you like we're family members for like the last maybe like couple of weeks. So technically it's a bit like official, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So yes, my name is Vanessa Junobasi. I'm head of communications and growth at Ingressive Capital. And I have and this is one of those like interesting things that really makes me really happy in my job, apart from the fact that I get to meet amazing women like you guys. So really excited to be here. However, just so that we can get straight to it, I shared the schedule prior with you guys. So, like, first of all, there's going to be an opening speech by Salmin Sase. Salmin is entrepreneur residence for 6 stars. And so she's going to be giving us very exciting information about the power of diversity in businesses. And then afterwards, there is the panel of these beautiful women here, from Yvonne to Shola to Chioma to Laura. And the topics are going to be amazing. I'm going to be running that side by side with my colleague and fellow female in Ingressive Capital, Bisola, who's supposed to be here and I can't find her. But yeah, and then prior to that, we're going to start firstly with an intro with Loretta, who is our communications and growth specialist in Ingressive Capital. So she's going to do the intro. So that's the presentation part of it. Then afterwards introduces me, who is the moderator. Then I introduce all of you ladies. And then every one of you is supposed to, I introduce your name, and then the rest of you are just going to tell us your role, what you're doing, and how you've been able to get here. And then of course we'll go into the question and answers like part of it. So yeah, I think it's very straightforward. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any questions? Anyone?
Vanessa, okay. I'd have to leave early.
No, that's fine. That's why, we talked about this and I said, it's fine. So we're going to be able to make an hour. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I'm okay. I'm going to start letting people in 2 minutes. I'm going to give 2 minutes to people to set up, say, hi, Onyeka. Let's see your camera. Let's see that it works.
Hi.
Why do you sound so calm? Hi. Okay, but Onyeka is on the second panel. So we're going to let in Joana. Joana. So these ladies are on the second panel.
I have one in my
Should I say here? Should I wait? It's not here.
You're not showing. Oops, sorry.
Okay, I think trying to let the ladies. Okay, so I think you guys are very timely. I'm very, very impressed. Okay. Hi, ladies. Hi, Joanna. Hi, Anto. Hi, Solape. So, you guys, thank you for joining. So, this is the second panel, but pretty much the process is, like I said earlier, hi, Joanna, is that we're going to, I need to make everybody co-host, but I make you co-host just so that you guys have access to being spotlighted. So I would co-host, co-host the first panel, and then afterwards, the second one will come up. So, hi, Anto.
Hi.
Shall let's see your face now. Let's see your fine face. Okay.
Who, me, Vanessa?
So, you don't want us to see your fine face. Okay. So I currently have the ladies, your co-hosts, the people that are currently on co-host. So you can talk to me on the side. Please don't add anybody. Please don't add anybody. God, who's adding people? Please don't do that. Please, I haven't accepted that we're doing that yet. But no, it's okay. It's fine. All right. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Just gonna make that a thing. Exciting stuff. Hello, Loretta. This is when you come in. I go to the background.
Okay, Vanessa, this is me just sound checking. Please confirm that there are no surround noise.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. But you can mute yourself.
I am. Sorry?
Yeah, but you can mute yourself. There's
Okay,
no
yes,
surround
sure.
noise, but you can mute yourself.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello. Good evening, or yeah, wherever you are. Hello. So my name is Loretta Hamza, and I am the Communications and Growth Specialist at Ingressive Capital. Very happy to have everyone on this call today. Thank you so much to the panelists for joining us, and to guests joining now. Say thank you, thank you, thank you. We're about to learn so much and have so much fun as well. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to do a quick intro about the company, Ingressive Capital. We're a $10 million fund targeting tech and tech-enabled startups across Africa. We're committed to supporting the next generation of African innovators. So if you're here and you are an innovator, you're a founder, an aspiring problem solver, please drop an emoji in the chat box, just like some yes, whoop, whoop, so that we can continue to cheer you on. I'm going to be giving 3 fun facts about us as a company. The first is that 70% of our workforce are made up of females. And the second is that 50% of our portfolio companies have gotten into YC, that's Y Combinator, which is one of the biggest accelerators in the world. And then over 26% of our portfolio companies are female-led or owned businesses. So yes, that's really exciting for us. And this event is one that is very, very dear to us because in a report, we saw a report by Brighter Bridges. They published this report very early. It was about 2021, the funding that we received in Africa. And then 0.9% of this funding went to female-only founders, which we feel like it's not the ideal situation. We can ask so many questions, but the truth is there's still a lot of work for women to do, or like that needs to happen generally for us as women in today's ecosystem, tech ecosystem, even in different sectors. And that's why we put together this event to just continue to inspire women, share stories. We have amazing panelists, people that I consider to be disruptors in the tech ecosystem. And so sit back, relax. We have I think about 2 more minutes. So grab yourself juice, wine, water, whatever you need, something to snack on so that you don't feel hungry or get bored. Oh, I can see someone there with. Thank you so much. And Anto, actually, thank you. So please don't forget to do that. And yeah, that's it. Welcome again, everyone. I will now be introducing, oh yes, Vanessa. I did not forget you. I'm going to be introducing Vanessa. She's going to be moderating the rest of this event. Vanessa is our head of communications and growth here at Ingressive Capital. Someone I disturb a lot. And I will be handing over the mic to her. Thank you.
Hi, ladies. Hello, everyone. Super exciting. Super exciting. Thank you so much for joining. I have done this, I think, way too many times now that I don't feel uncomfortable doing it. And when I say uncomfortable, I mean from a point of knowing it's when you see each other every time you talk about it, it's nice. And then when you like being in the background, it's nice. And then you have to sit in the room and everyone has to look at you and say, yes, what are you saying that really makes sense? Yes, yeah, that happens. I've done it way too many times now, and now I'm just you know what? Yeah, take me as I am. So hello everyone, and welcome to Ingressive Capital's first Women's Day, only Women's Day event in 2022. When we did this event last year, it was really interesting and really amazing. However, moving into this year, it's just been more just seeing all of the many different parts to it. And I know some people just say, oh my God, woe is me. Yes, women every single year, Women's Day. Why do we have to keep doing the same process every year? Why do you celebrate Valentine's? Why do you celebrate Christmas? Why do you celebrate? If you do all of that, you can do Women's Day every year and you can stuff it into your throat, even if you don't feel comfortable enough. And I like how he makes people feel uncomfortable because it just makes them understand that there are parts to play that they haven't paid attention to. Not to speak too much English, as some of the people on my team would say, is we're moving straight into it. And I'm just going to introduce someone who I think it's just very calm, very relaxed, makes veering into this entire conversation very peaceful until we get into it, and then we'll see how it pans out. So we have Salmin Sassi. And Salmin is entrepreneur in residence for Seedstars, and she's going to be giving us our opening speech. Pretty much just talking about the power of diversity in businesses. Salmin, welcome, and thank you so much for doing this. You have the floor.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy and grateful to be amongst the... Oh, no?
No, we can hear him.
You can hear me, right? Yeah, right? Like, what? Again, thank you for having me. Super grateful to be amongst all the panelists here today. I am Salmin. I am from Tunisia. I'm the entrepreneur in residence at Seedstars, as well as the co-founder of She Starts Africa. I am a long believer of women in Africa needing to be in leadership. And I do believe in that the drive of our economic growth in our continent is going to come by having more women in the labor force, in leadership positions, in the C-suite, which is still not happening. We're not progressing, and the data is showing us that we're not progressing as much as we might have thought. So talking about the power of diversity in businesses. Diversity is a lot of things, right? It's not just women or just people of color or just people of certain backgrounds. It's everyone and everyone across the globe. For me, I'm going to talk about my experiences, and I'm going to talk about women and women of color. Because what's happening across, and it's everywhere, it's Western communities in Africa and the Arab world and Asia, is that we see less and less women going up the leadership ladder. We see women that go to university. We see more than 50% of university graduates are women in a lot of African and Arab countries. But then in the labor force, that number shrinks. Women of color account for only 4% of the C-suite leaders, and this is a global number. We see less and less women in political decision making. And I think the question to ask here is who's accountable for that, and what should we do to drive each other in a way? For the past year, and with Seed Stars and with my company, She Stars, I try to do more research, talk to more women and men, and understand a little bit, okay, what can we do? And personally, I believe that is a grassroots issue and a grassroots solution. The grassroots issue is that we're not supporting women and equipping them to become entrepreneurs, to become entrepreneurial individuals that would actually become leaders moving forward. We're either equipping women with thought process and with culture that tells them that they need to live a certain way, and they need to get a 9-to-5 job. They need to get married and get a loan and buy a house. And this is the circle that women are supposed to follow in a way. And this is most of our southern globe. This is what's happening. So to treat this issue and to have more diversity in leadership, in our labor force, in our continent and beyond, we need to treat that grassroots problem. And I see a lot of initiatives that are going in that direction. And I support having more initiatives in that direction, whether that be educating young ladies about technological opportunities, digital economy, what's changing in the world, and how can you take opportunity of that and build new businesses, build new projects, be a go-getter, be entrepreneurial, create that culture of entrepreneurship and doing it, being proactive. The second thing is women supporting other women. And I think we struggle a lot of that, especially countries that were colonized before. We are, I'd say this in Arabic, but it's really not politically correct. And we are eventually grandchildren of a colonizing culture in a way. And so we grew up with parents that would tell us, or grandparents that would tell us, don't show her, or don't show him, or don't share your work. Don't tell that you are doing good. Always say that you're doing bad. Don't share your notes. You have to get an A. Your friend has to get the C. So you're good. Then your friend needs to get a C. And I love that I'm seeing Yvonne smiling, because honestly, it is such an African thing that it's our culture, and we need to accept it. So I think working again for that grassroots and teaching each other as women that no, actually, if we work together, we are creating more seats on the table, and we don't have to fight each other, and we don't have to bring each other down, and we're not in competition with each other. We are in competition with our culture, with our political, dynamic, with our corrupt governments, with our system that we want to change, but not with each other, because together is strength. And this is what I saw with She Starts Africa. Whenever we came together to build a project, to run an accelerator, to run a program, things worked better and smoother, and the impact was bigger. So in us working together, supporting each other, and learning how to support each other, there's a huge power in that. And then the actual aspects of diversity. Diversity is everything, right? And we need to applaud diversity in a way. Your background, your beliefs, your experience, your life experience, your knowledge. Diversity is also an age and an experience. And oftentimes we see in Africa that either you have Gen X that makes the rules and millennials struggling, or you have the opposite. Younger generation doesn't want to involve older generation because we've had enough. So there's that generational divide that's happening, and you often find two different ecosystems and two different types of people trying, sometimes doing the same thing, but in different ways. And so also diversity is that, is us working together, coming together, bridging the gap between our different generations. The second thing, and I don't know why I'm focused a lot in Africa, but again, that's my knowledge. I have an African map right here. You can see it. But that's my knowledge, and that's where I'm from. I'm from Tunisia. In Africa, we have a huge problem with diversity, especially north, south. We're not trading, we're not talking, we're not meeting, we're not going, Tunisians are not going on vacation to South Africa, and South Africans are not going on vacation to Morocco, and vice versa. This is what we want to see happening in Africa: more trade, more doing business together, more entrepreneurial activities together. There's a lot of power in this continent. And I would say, similar to what I say about Tunisia, that the power lies in the hands of our women. At 5 a.m., when you go outside at 5 a.m., most of the people who are waiting for the bus or going to work would be women holding whatever on their back and going to the village to gather I don't know what. And this you see in Tunisia every day. 5 a.m., women are waiting for transportation. 12 p.m., coffee shops are filled. And I'm not trying to be sexist right now, right? It's my experience and what I'm seeing. 12 p.m., you see a lot of men in coffee shops drinking coffee, but women are still, they're working. They are providing the food, they're providing the money, they're raising the kids. They're trying to create a better future for themselves. Doesn't mean that their male counterpart is not doing the same thing, but they're doing way, way, way more to get 10% of what their male counterpart is getting. I hope this makes sense, because I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just trying to explain our cultural problems in Africa. So in diversity, there's a huge power, and diversity in business, diversity in the economy, diversity in us as a humanity growing, becoming sustainable, taking care of our Mother Earth, being better human beings. Diversity can bring that. Having different conversation, having new conversations, putting everything on the table and discussing and coming together is very, very important for Africa to not be left behind in this digital revolution that's happening. And I think it's up to us, female leaders, to bring those conversations, to bring those partnerships that will allow that economic growth. I hope I didn't take so much time. Thank you, Vanessa, and the team for having me, and thank you, panelists, for your time as well, and audience.
Actually, you did great. Very, very timely. Very, very, very timely. Thank you so much, Salmin. And I think one of the interesting things that you were able to do is just like highlighting, apart from just as a whole, just also bringing in like your culture and your heritage into like what that is and what that represents, how that is very significant, with us women trying to constantly push for diversity. So I'm really, really glad that happened. And yeah, super amazing. Just so that we don't waste any more time, I'm going to go straight into the next panel. And for this panel, we're going to, I'm going to have one of my colleagues join in. Her name is Solape Akinpelu, and she's going to be just co-moderating with me and ensuring that we have a balanced female perspective on this. So hi, Bisola, just quickly tell us about you and before we just go straight into the panel.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Visola. I'm an analyst at Ingressive Capital. I've been at Ingressive for a year plus now. Happy to be here.
Hello, Visola. Welcome and thank you for being here. So just going straight into it, I'm going to start with very general questions actually for our panel. And the first thing I'm going to ask is, in order to break the bias, what are some of the opportunities that we need to explore? And this is a general question, but to start it, I'm going to start with Shola. Shola, hi.
Hi, everyone. So are we to introduce ourselves? Or
Yes, please. Actually, technically, we should all introduce ourselves before we actually just go into that. So I'll start with introducing my panel. The panel is discussing bridging the gap, bridging the gender gap in tech. So I will start with Shola. So Shola, please introduce yourself and what you do.
Right. Hi, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. My name is Shola Obagbemi. I'm the comms manager for Anglophone West Africa. So that's the English-speaking countries in Africa, at Meta, formerly Facebook. And so I oversee communications and everything we talk about, everything that we do, and everything that we want to represent in this side of the region. And so I'm super excited to be here. And do we all introduce ourselves or I just go straight?
So the next person is going to be Yvonne, just as I'm seeing them right now in front of me. So hi, Yvonne, please can you introduce yourself and what you do?
Hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. My name is Yvonne-Faith Elaigwu. I work at OnePipe. I handle operations and governance. We like to say that I do any work, just any work. That's what I do. I'm a guy if you want to do any work at OnePipe.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Next one, like I'm seeing it just right in front of me, is we have Laura Lee. So hi, Laura. Can you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do?
Hi, everyone. Very nice to be here. This is Laura. I'm now taking care of country management for Binance. Binance is the largest crypto exchange platform in the world. Very happy to be here. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Thank you. And finally, and not the least, we have Chioma. Chioma, hi. Can you introduce
Hi,
yourself?
everyone. Thank you, Vanessa. So great to be here. My name is Chioma, co-founder and chief operations officer for Facebook. Facebook is a fintech company that provides loans to small and medium businesses across Africa.
Okay, lovely. So yes, so pretty much just like diving into that, we're gonna start with the questions that I just initially asked, and I'm gonna go back to you, Shola, which is just like, in order to break the bias, what are some of the opportunities? Because again, the hashtag break the bias was literally just like, knocking on our heads the entire like couple of like months. However, it's just like, what are some of the opportunities that we need to explore? And how would you address that from your perspective, actually working in, tech?
Right. Thanks a lot for sharing. I think I'll start by saying that I really love this year's theme. And I generally just think we all have biases. It's part of human nature. And our collective biases can actually show up in the culture and the systems that contribute to gender inequalities. So for example, most of us tend to underestimate, or most people tend to underestimate women's performance and are more likely to challenge women's competence, even in the area of their expertise, which is a bias. Because I've been in the corporate world since I started working like 12 years ago, and I would like to talk about women being promoted. And so that's the bias I'll talk about, and what I suggest that we do. I know that there is a study that says that for every 100 men hired and promoted to manager, only about 72 women are hired and promoted. And so this means, there are fewer women who are promoted into management positions, and there is less of a pipeline that encourages women to, get the pathway to leadership roles. And so to your question about, how do we break this bias? I think I need to anchor back to the fact that, one way to do this is to always ask the probing question, because it pushes people to rethink their assumptions. And, we need to force people to articulate the thinking behind their decisions. And so that means, we need to always help each other to say, let's try to see if we can catch their own bias. And, it leads to an open conversation that would hopefully help us deliver a better outcome. So for example, if a woman is up for a promotion, and we say they don't think she's leadership material, I hear that a lot. And you might ask, is there anything in a performance review that would lead us, to believe that she's not a good team manager? It looks like she gets good results. So do you want to probe further? And, it means the person that, is asking that question would be able to explain and think again about the reviews of what the person have said, hopefully that we can get positive responses. So, if we put the right criteria in place and help ensure we're evaluating the right accomplishments rather than personalities, I think that we can help break the bias.
Thank you so much, Shola. I have a very interesting apology to send to Solape because she's on this panel as well. And for some random reason, I think that I just didn't see her on it. That's why I just didn't know it. Solape is currently on this panel. I'm really sorry. Hi. Hi, Solape. How are you?
It's fine.
It's so weird because in my mind I was just like, there were some things that were just like, a bit missing. Anyway, yes. Hi, Solape. Please do the intro and please go ahead. Apologies.
Okay, not a problem. Hello, everyone.
Can you just like speak out maybe into the?
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it any better?
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Hi everyone, and it's great being here. So my name is Solape Akinpelu. I'm co-founder, CEO of HerVest. HerVest is an inclusive digital financial platform for financially underserved and excluded women in Africa. And we do this by raising both sides of the divide, that is, underserved and excluded women, also to say digitalized and, rural women upwards on the economic ladder by giving them greater access to savings, impact investment, and credit particularly for small female farmers. It's a pleasure being here. And leaning into the question, I think that, can I go ahead? The question?
Yes, please. Yes, of course.
Oh,
yes, it's an open discussion. Yes.
Yeah, sure. So I believe that I think it was Shola that mentioned that, we all go around with biases. We stereotypes, is real. So if someone walks into a room and then you look at the person, colored hair, there's a tattoo somewhere, and then you start putting that person in a box. And so it just means that as people, I want to believe that even if we study, lower animals, they probably have stereotypes built within them, within their systems, in their DNA. So firstly, we need to be very conscious of all of these biases and stereotypes, because if you don't know better, you don't do better, yeah? And so that way we can better appraise situations, we can better appraise humans, we can better appraise founders, regardless of the gender. I mentioned earlier today in a conversation that, technology, for instance, does not recognize gender, right? So does businesses. So a lot of principles, okay? So we need to be very self-aware first. And then I think because stereotypes and biases are even more acute in a part of the world where, the female gender has been, even when it is not exactly spelled out, it's implicitly, indicated that the female gender is weaker, that the female gender probably does not know as much. But so we need to be aware. And I can go on and emphasize this, because the way it creeps in, you do not even realize it. So you need to be aware and, call yourself out, as a human when you see another female, or when you see anybody and you're trying to, appraise them based on labels or based on acquired taste or acquired perception over the years. So I think that's the best way to, tackle biases. And I hope that we'll be able to get to the nitty-gritty of the matter about biases around female funders and funding and all the other issues. It's a pleasure being here again.
Thank you so much, Solape. Thank you so much for that, because now you're literally nudging me in the next direction of question I was going to ask, which is, in terms of like facing unconscious bias. So one of the things that you learn when you are in like rooms when it comes to managerial conversations is there is conscious and unconscious bias. So men are supposed to be providers, women are supposed to be supporters, things like that. So if you're sitting in a room and you're having a conversation where someone is trying to get a salary increase, but the salary increase that they're trying to get, you're like, well, but woman, what are you supposed to need that X amount of money for, right? It comes into the conversation. These are very unconscious biases that people who are put in place, who are, in fact, it can be a woman who is your HR or your admin officer or whatnot. And that's the unconscious, the constructs that they have at the back of their minds. And I'm going to ask this between Laura and Yvonne. What are some of the unconscious biases that you guys have dealt with, and how have you been able to sidestep from it? So I'll start with Laura, and then Yvonne, you can take on the question afterwards.
Sure, thank you, Vanessa. I think there are too many unconscious bias, especially in the workplace. Besides what you mentioned, the unequal salary, and people always think women has no leadership. And sometimes when people give instructions or directions to the teammates, and a lot of people will think, oh, this woman is too bossy, right? But when men are doing the same thing, they will think, oh, this man, they have entrepreneurship and leadership. It's very common, especially in the workplace. Based on my personal experience, I would like to mention two matters about this unconscious bias. One is, I don't know why each time when we have discussion about female business leaders, they always ask you how to balance family and your work. But I don't think we ask this question too frequently to men, right? And I think in people's mindset, okay, if man is devoting too much on the work, that is fine. But if female business leaders devoting or contributing too much on the work, that is a little bit bizarre. For myself, I think it's more easier for me because I'm not married, so I can try to avoid this situation. But I can feel this kind of pressure happening a lot of times for my teammates, my friends. They are kept being asking this type of questions, right? And the second is when female business leaders, they are too devoting to their work, people will call them workaholic. I don't think it is a very positive word when they relate this word with female business leaders. But when they relate this word with men, people will think, oh, this man is very responsible and highly contributed to the business and have high ambitions in his career path. I really don't know why. At first, when I was in the situation, I would think, okay, I don't want to be called as workaholic because it makes me feel, oh, I'm not very normal compared with others. But as the time growing, I think my current way to deal with this situation is I try to be more comfortable and be frank about, okay, I think the work I'm now devoting with, I really have a high interest on it. I want to devote more, I want to contribute more. And I think this is very natural and normal, just as men, right? I don't feel uncomfortable again about to show my aggressive and ambitionness. So it is a very big movement and progress for me. I just want to share it with all of the girls and women that it's fine. We can show our aggressiveness and we can show our ambition just as men. So yeah, that's my story here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You can go.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to piggyback on her last point before I go into the biases. So I have faced, just to piggyback again, I remember there was this time that I was trying to close this partnership with a bank, and the person that I was working very closely with, I needed to do active follow-up and everything. And one day he buzzed me and he said, Yvonne, the reason that you're doing this is because you're not married. Like this, your energy is too much. And it's because, like he told me to my face, that it's because you don't have man and children at home that you have. But I know for a fact that if it was another man that was chasing and trying to close that deal, that would never be the conversation. I sidestepped that very easily. It was like water off the back of a duck. I didn't even give it a minute's thought. I moved on, I closed the deal and was happy. But the bias I really want to speak about when I was, came into the tech space was more of an internal bias. So I have a first degree in something in the medical sciences, a master's in something in chemistry department. And when I wanted to come into tech, I second guessed myself every step of the way. I was not sure I could do this, like technology, like tech, coding something. And I just felt that the fact that I had that educational background would make me struggle in the space. And the fact that I also thought, this thing coding, isn't what boys do a lot, all these young men and all of that. So to treat that internal bias, I first of all learned to take full ownership and responsibility for my roles. If you gave me a job, everybody that has worked with me will know that I'll hold it with my chest. And then I made consistent decisions around learning and improving myself, such that it didn't matter that my education, like there was no clear path between my education and my work in tech. It didn't matter that I was a girl and in a world of, boys, or in a man's world, like you would say. So yes, those are biases I personally faced and how I sidestepped them.
Thank you so much. I want to say something, but I don't want to etch into anyone's time. So I'm just going to go straight to the last, part of my end of this open discussion question, which is, and this is coming straight to you, Chioma, which is, I don't know if you've heard of the motherhood employment penalty, fatherhood employment premium.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of it, Chioma? Okay, so pretty much is that according to International Labour Organization, mothers of children within the ages of 0 to 5, they suffer an employment penalty where fathers are reported to have highest employment population ratio in the world. So there's Africa, Europe, and Asia, and these are the people who suffer employment gaps within this. So pretty much the fact that motherhood is women who are actually working have a significant amount of they have to go, of course you have to go through the whole maternity leave and things like that, and then there's no one filling the roles. Meanwhile, fatherhood, there's a little bit of they get employment premium from this, and it just looks like you have a child, you have to suffer for it, because you can come back and there's no longer COO in the company. They've changed the person to a brand new human being, and you're like, okay, cool, but your counterpart who is, let's say, CTO, is getting employment share premium, and that's within the ages of 0 to 5, and this is significant within Africa, Europe, and Asia. And my question to you is, do you think that there are actual processes put in place to support women who actually put their back into work, have to take some time off to, go and, do life, have kids, have the children, nurse the kids, and then come back and not have to deal with the insecurity of somebody else is not going to be there. Someone else is going to be there to have, in quotes, replaced me. Do you think that that's a thing do we do enough in that regard? Or do you feel like that's a problem that actually exists? So now giving in the background.
Hey, Vanessa, great question. Hi, everyone, again. I think if you had asked me this question probably last year, I probably wouldn't have been able to answer it as strongly as I can now. So I'm a co-founder of a startup, like everyone knows. I'm about to fall into this category as well. And literally just open my eyes to the fears, right, that any woman would have in an organization. So I'm expecting, and you're suddenly wondering, how can I do this with my work? Does my company have favorable maternal policies? Does HR have an understanding? Are my investors going to be a bit biased if you're not available for 6 months or 9 months? What are the things that you can put in place now? And quite sadly, and I think this has been something that has been unfair for years, we all know tons of women who would say, I took a career break to start a family and I came back and I'm not sure how to fit in, or my position is gone, or I'm having to start all over again from entry level. And so I've really taken this matter on my head. And I'm like, if I can start it in my own company or start it with women around me, then we can sort of start to break what the bias is. I think if we talk to women in maybe like a couple of years before ours, even at interviews, people would ask you, are you starting a family? And God help you that your answer is a yes, that automatically eliminates you. I also think like in the beginning when we started fundraising, I actually had 1 or 2 people ask me specifically, which I don't remember being asked, to my co-founder, what are your plans for the next 3 to 5 years? And, you know, in a way I thought, okay, maybe they're just asking, what am I going to be doing? But then I just thought, okay, they're probably asking, look, are you planning to go off and have babies? And how do you plan to juggle this? So I think as co-founders, as leaders of organizations, as women, you know, in leadership positions, it is really, we're the ones who will break this bias. I think the policies that we put in place, how we support the women in our organization, just making sure that there's a path back to work and women don't feel judged or unconsciously, you know, erased from conversations just because they make a choice to start a family or have to take time off. So I'm starting that, and I would be happy to report in a couple of months and let you know what my personal experience is.
Hold you responsible, because it'll just be like you set it up, now we're all just like going to work with your templates. Yeah. So thank you. I mean, I don't think we talk about that enough. You know, there are lots of like empowerment conversations that we want to say, but there's also like all of those things as well that people need to be able to have conversation-wise. I think Shola wants to say something. You can go. Oh, did you want to say something? I'm just asking.
I want to say something.
Okay, Yvonne, you can go.
Yeah. So this is Chioma, hello. I think this is a real problem, and I think that the tech industry is uniquely positioned to fix it. And why I say this is because it's a thing. Women will at some point in their lives have to put their careers on pause, sometimes to raise children and have families. And we all know that reintegrating into the labor market is difficult. The HR guy wants to poach somebody from his competition. You want to ask me what happened in the past 3 years. Are my skills now outdated? But the thing that makes the tech space unique is that everybody is literally just figuring it out. Like, I believe that it is so young that you can't have that much head start than the woman that took a 5-year break. I also know that one thing we can all agree on this call is that women are very resilient. If a woman puts her career on pause and you give her an opportunity to reintegrate into a system where all you really need to do is put yourself into work. We're all just learning it. You don't really know it. You can't call yourself that baba, even though you didn't take this break that I had to take to raise children. It means that women can actually reintegrate into the labor market, especially the tech space, because what is it? She will go, almost everybody that I know that can write code probably taught themselves. She can teach herself. She can learn product management. Like every day, products are evolving, so she can really just get in the flow. So, I mean, I think that women, everybody on this call and even beyond here, founders, you have an opportunity. We know that talent is like one of the hardest things to find in the tech space. There are women out there that are looking for work. Don't ask her what she was doing the past 3 years. Give her the opportunity and you would have bridge this talent, like you'd have almost solved this gender gap in the tech space.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. That's very amazing. Thank you so much, Yvonne. So I'm going to just defer to my co-moderator, Bisola. Bisola is just going to be putting everybody on the hot seats. So, Bisola, I'm going to defer to you. So, over to you.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, everyone. It's been so good hearing about your experiences, and I've learned a lot from it. I think one of the key lessons I actually took from this was just that women have to remain ambitious and also fight for their seat at the table, right? And Shola, I was just curious to know, like, what do you think that we need to do to educate more women to work in tech? So maybe as a tech person or in the marketing department, for instance, what do we need to do?
So I think that, you know, as companies get bigger, as companies get bigger, so that's Amazon having close to 1.6 million employees. And as even they get older, so Apple is like what, maybe 45 years now. And as they get more diverse, I know that who they hire, why they hire this person, and how the tech industry is changing is very fast. So that means tech companies are a very great place to work, and I'm sure we all agree. But despite that attention to coding, engineering, app development, like somebody just said, there are plenty career opportunities for non-technical women in the tech industry. And that's what I'm always passionate about, because I know that so many people talk about, the beauty of being in tech companies and being able to code and all of that. But while tech companies need more women engineers, they also need more non-technical women that can help fill in those roles that will make the tech part of the company run well. So forget that tech, get the idea about, tech only hires techies. No, a quick look at the open positions that are available, maybe on Glassdoor. I was checking Glassdoor last week, and even, on Glassdoor, it says that there are about 43% of positions that are non-technical across tech companies. And even on Workday, it says about 72% or something. So, tech companies, they need program managers, they need, tech writers, they need operations, compliance, marketing, comms, business processes, etc. And the spectrum is very broad. And so that means all tech companies, all companies, even, with tech as no exception, they need people who can critically make good decisions and communicate well. And so these careers, and they need skills, and these skills are actually transferable, across different companies. So for me, I started as, in a, what's it called now, PR agency. And from my PR agency, I was there for about 7 years. And then I moved to Andela, a tech company. I had no clue about what the tech world was when I moved to Andela. And Andela is a core software engineering company. But because I had the skill of comms, and I've been in a comms PR agency for about 7 years, I was able to apply the skill that I have to just bring that skill to the tech world. And I think that a lot of people can actually do that. And there's so many roles available. It's just that women, we don't want to go to those career pages. So when I tell people, there's Facebook careers, people, you can get this role. The guys that I tell are fast and on the spot. They're clicking on it, but the ladies will be like, maybe not. So we need to, I think that this is a call to action, because the only way to bridge this gap, and it's a huge gap, but the only way to bridge this gap is, even if we don't have enough engineers who are women, there are non-technical roles, there are business roles, there are operations roles. People just need to go do the work of going to those career pages and getting a job. I did not know anybody at Facebook. I literally saw the link, applied for the job, went through the process and got the job. So if we all, approach it from that angle of we don't have to be coders, or we don't have to be engineers like the Yvonnes, like the Chiomas of this world. Regardless of whatever skill that you have, they need the skill. So look for the roles, and their roles, it's just that we don't search. Look for the roles that align and apply for them. Once we apply, we're able to then bridge this huge gender gap that is in the tech world.
Thank you very much. Kind of reminds me of how I applied to Ingressive. At first, I was scared. I wasn't sure if I could do it or not. I had no knowledge in tech. And I would generally just advise women to, feel the fear and just do it anyway, because you never know where you end up with, trying out new opportunities. So yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. And that kind of brings me to the issue of funding, because I was reading a report not too long ago about how when you look at tech companies, from the pre-seed stage to Series B, you will find that the male founders, male founding teams, the percentage of them represented in those startups increases from 71% to about 89%. Whereas when you're looking at women-led startups, the percentage kind of reduces from 15% in the pre-seed round to 6% in Series B. So I was kind of curious, what do you think are the key factors that kind of limits women when it comes to fundraising? Right. Solape, I don't know if you want to share your own experience.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bisola. And I'll try to, be strong-faced here because this is one, it's an emotional one for me actually, right? Because it looks, it's like a gap that you consistently ask yourself that will it be filled, because it's almost chicken and egg. So, okay, for a business to be funded, of course, it requires key fundamentals, right? Traction, product market fit, compliance, a lot of that, which requires, intentional smart founders. And then for such founders to get funding, they require funders, right? So I'm trying to create a context here. So it just means that it requires mostly a round peg to fit into a round hole. And then you now have, let me give an analogy. Maybe if a female founder who's got it all, and then a founder who, is maybe in this case male, has no, how do you put it? It's also implicit, right? So someone looks, an older man looks at the younger man and feels what he felt maybe like 30 years ago. I was trying to build, it was difficult. This guy has got the basics. Let me fund this guy. And then you have me, right? Sit in front of such man, and I keep saying, and the guy is just looking at me and thinking, so your husband is at home now, nobody's cooking, and you are here asking for money. Right? Do you understand? Hey, yeah, I pity your children. 6 and 4, you said. Hey, wow, these African women, things have gone bad. And I just keep there talking, oh, we've got this traction, we've done these numbers, we've done this, we've done that. Can't you see these women are grossly underserved? And right, I had to go that way because that is exactly what it is. So we can go on and speak all the English. If we don't ensure that we fill those gaps at both ends, right, it would be a wide goose chase, which goes back to the last question about, having more representation of women in technology. As at today, I probably didn't mention when I introduced myself, I'm the country director for Women in Tech Global, the Nigerian chapter. And today has been, at a point, I just closed my notes, like, wait a minute, let me go back to Nigeria already, because, we have this MENA forum every year, Middle East and North Africa. And the conversations that have been had here today, you could tell people are raising funds here for the metaverse project, raising funds for NFTs and all of that. And those are not the challenges that, we are not challenged in those areas. Correct me if I'm wrong, in Africa, in Nigeria especially, right? We've got security issues, we've got food challenges, we've got, financial inclusion, economic challenges, a whole lot of them, okay? But there's so much abundance in this and understanding in these areas that people are raising for such problem that one of my funny friends, Natasha, said, it's a rich man problem. Right? She's Caucasian, but she's like, this is a rich man problem. These are men problems, right? And so what it means is that we need more representation for women in tech generally. At the moment, it is 15%. In MENA today, I realized that it is they've got 54% women in STEM. Right, about the highest in all markets, okay? And I'm like, okay, so what's happening in my country? What's happening on the continent? And then on the other side, we need more female investors, okay? Because, so I think they say women retire with 40% less pension around the world. Personally, we are raising the fund now. We've got a few, angel checks, and as much as we'd like for that to have been led by women, I see women that I look at profile and be like, okay, let's talk to them. And they will tell you matter of factly, they'll tell you, Shakwe, I don't have that kind of money. Like women that, Shakwe, you have this person in your, they really do not have, right? And that's why, at times I have to remind myself and stay grounded. Because so you're trying to solve for women who are underrepresented and who are underserved and excluded, right? That is what we set out to do. That is what we have been doing. Then you now see women who are up there, who worked, resigned from, retired from top global organizations, and they cannot cut 20K check. Really, they do not have, no jokes. Then you'd be like, okay, do I go into the past and fix these issues? It's just, so you have to, there are issues that we definitely need, to tackle. And then that being said, as Shola had said, so I just want to put this out there, and that's because, of course, we're happy to do this with Ingressive, that is Women in Tech and HerVest. Our first program that we launched when we launched the Nigeria chapter last year is Women in Tech Makeathon, where we're skilling 1,000 girls and women in tech roles. We've picked 600 women already. Applications are still open, and data analytics, software programming, product management, digital marketing, and all of that, as she said. It might interest you. My background is in marketing too. And look at us, look at where we are. So as she said, right, it isn't until you actually have to be techie nerdy, have that plugged in until it gets done. But then, sorry, Bisola, I think I've gone around now. We certainly need more female founders, and we certainly need stronger female founders too. So don't just show up and say, because I'm a female founder, can't you see the numbers are against me, fund me, right? That is tokenism. So let's constantly play the value card, even when we need to raise these funds too. And with the right fundamentals, the sky is definitely a launching pad. Thank you.
Thank you. And I 100% agree with you. I really think that women have an important role to play when it comes to pushing equality and equity in the economy, right? And then Chioma, I was just curious, sorry, my voice just disappeared. But yeah, Chioma, I just wanted to know from you as well, like, have you experienced similar challenges as Solape? And then, what would you change about the fundraising experience for women?
I'm still on mute, sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. And did you hear my question?
I did. I was speaking. I didn't realize I was still on mute. When Solape was speaking, I just kept nodding and going, yeah. I mean, every founder, right, male or female, knows like fundraising is hard. But the truth is, it is harder on females, and potentially also harder on sort of like a mixed co-founding team. So whether it's men and if it's men and women, right? As long as you have a woman on that team, it suddenly pulls you into that female category of just the difficulties that come with fundraising. I think, like she said, one of the things that I would just continue to, push and think about in my head is sort of having more. We definitely need to have more women-led VCs and more women-led funds, whether that's angel level, seed, pre-seed. Not because a woman is just going to throw money to you, right? But there's so many other things that come with reaching out to funders, right? Whether it's reviewing your due diligence with you, advising you on the gaps that exist in your company, things that you can do. So there's also an advisory part of fundraising before the funds even get there. And I think that women-led VCs would definitely create a lot of pathway, right? And just create a lot of support for women. I think from my own experience, right, generally, you just see that it's more men that write the checks, right? Whether it's whether you're like at very angel level. And I think from the investor angle, it's probably that women investors probably think that for you to make an investment, it has to be like a $200,000 check. And so they also have this mindset like, oh, the money I have is not for startups. They're not thinking, oh, a 5K is also equity, 1K is also an equity check, right? So it's like changing that mindset from the investor angle as well. I've also had angel investors come to me many months later and say, oh, some guy was telling us that you guys were doing a raise. How come I didn't know? Why didn't you tell me? And, they're also lost in that information. And I think as founders, right, it's also our position and our place to inform as many people as we can, and sort of also pull women into these conversations. But yeah, I would say just from my experience, target more, women-led funds. I've received a lot of help in my journey. These guys haven't invested in my company, but as women-led funds, they have been so supportive. You've got Maya from Ingressive, you've got Odun from First Check, Adesua as well from Aroa Capital. Like, these are women that have supported just in terms of reviewing things. It doesn't also always have to be equity, it can be debt. So it depends on what you're looking for. And these people can sort of give you that advice when you start off. Have I experienced unconscious bias? Of course. right? Sometimes you get into a room and you're automatically put in this operations box because you're a woman, and nobody thinks that you can really speak to the vision or direction of the company. And so you kind of find yourself constantly pushing and going, I'm a co-founder, right? I'm not whatever, hierarchy is existing here. Just making sure your voice is heard, and letting people know like the role that you play, right? You have Solape said, what have you built? What have you done before? Do you know your numbers? So that when you enter those rooms, there's nothing that's really shaking your confidence, right? You're not confused about anything. You enter with that sort of strength and understanding of what you're doing, and letting investors know that you're also bringing something to them, right? They're investing as well, but then they're also going to benefit, from your company as it grows and expands. So I'm really hoping that over the next couple of years, things start to change. I was reading the stats and I was just like, 5 billion, only 1% went to women. Like, what is happening? And so, yes, I think even as a founder, I talk to a lot of new founders as well, tell them my journey, my story, what they should do, some of the mishaps that I had. And just making sure we get more women getting access to those funds, for sure.
Thank you very much. And yes, 100%, I agree with you. So you kind of touched on the importance of like doing the work, your traction, all of that. And for women who are like building out their own products, what do you think they can do in terms of their strategy? How do they achieve success? How do they set clearly defined goals? Right. Shola, Yvonne, if you want to share your insights.
I'll be very short in answering this question, because I just wanted to say that if you focus on impact, the focus just has to be on impact, because what I've found is people have a lot of ideas. Ideas are always flowing. Talk is cheap, right? But if you focus on impact, like what's the impact that my products will make on this demographic? What's the thing that I want to achieve? And then you don't track back to putting it in pen and paper to say, this is what it would achieve. At the end of the day, how will I now get there? And then get people, mentors, people who you can collaborate with. Because for me, mentorship and collaboration has been a great pillar in my career. You don't have to actually have those mentors as people who see you constantly. I have a lot of mentors that don't even know that they are my mentors by me just watching them. So, if you're able to do all of those things and focus on impact. So for me, since I joined this company, I think that even in my day-to-day with my kids, with my husband and everything, and with my friends, I just always think impact, impact, impact. And the reason for that is it makes you think further. It makes you question some of the things that you want to do. And so ideas, there are so many ideas. Like you Google, you see it, but you just need to be able to structure to say, what is the impact that this will make? What do I need to get there? Who are the people that I need to collaborate with, and who can guide me?
Yeah, just to agree with her again, I think that you come with the mindset that you're going to be fighting against the waves. It's not going to be a walk in the park for you. If it is hard 10x for a man, there's a bias, it is unfair, but it really is what it is. Know that you're coming to fight 20x. So that means that you can't just come with flowery numbers. You can't just speak plenty English. You have to do the work, really. You have to make it difficult for that person to pass on or ignore your deck. Like she was saying, I think Shola was saying that it becomes easy for you to probe. Tell me why. Why do you think this is wrong? Like you are forced into, you have put out so much data, such a strong case that if you say, tell me what exactly is wrong here, you really cannot point it out. So you know that one, you can't just be speaking English. It's not going to be a walk in the park for you. You are going to be swimming against the tides. So you have to come really, really prepared. Don't speak English, like she said.
Thank you. I think both of you actually touched on something I think is very important, which is mentorship, right? I'm a big believer in mentorship. And I was just curious, is it something, do you think that there are more sectors, certain sectors where you see women and women leveraging mentors more than others, or it's just a general, use of mentorship in different industries?
Yeah, so about mentorship and collaboration, I think that there is a very loud global conversation. I think the conversation is in every walk and every sphere of life today. Everywhere you go, it has become like one of those politically correct things. You have to say how that we are gender, we practice gender equality, there's inclusiveness. Everybody is saying it. Now, whether everybody is practicing it and making it possible for me to walk up to a woman that I admire and say, please be my mentor, is a different conversation. But one of the advantages of the fact that there's a loud global conversation around equality, gender equality, and inclusiveness is that it gives me and every woman that wants to take the chance, the confidence and the opportunity to walk in the door and ask for mentorship. You can walk in the door and ask for those collaborations everywhere today. Another advantage of it is the fact that you can call out an entity, an organization, a chairlady that refuses to answer you because the conversation is so loud. Everybody is probably saying it somewhere. That person is probably saying how they want to mentor other women, such that you have the opportunity to walk up to her. And if they don't answer, you have the opportunity to question it. And like we all know, the world has become such a small village. I mean, just go to Twitter and you are able to start or force a conversation if you think that somebody is either applying double standards or making promises they can't keep. So I think that there is value in the fact that there's a loud conversation around mentorship and collaborations, and we can use that to our advantage.
Thank you very much. And I think the last few questions I'm going to be asking are going to be around blockchain, crypto, all of that. And Laura, I'm going to give you expertise here. Right, so like everyone has been talking about Web3. We've seen the Facebook change their name to Meta, so many different changes around that, NFTs, everything. And I was just curious to find out from you, do you think that this is going to be an opportunity in Africa? And what are some of the challenges you see will come from this?
Thank you so much. So I know Web3 since last year become a very trending topic, not only in Africa region, actually it becomes trending across the world, right? When we talk about Web3, what are we actually talking about? So beside those cryptocurrencies and tokens, I think the most underlying logic here is decentralized, the philosophy of decentralized. So when we're combining the decentralized with finance, that is with finance, that is decentralized finance, which is DeFi, right? I think DeFi, this word are more popular since 2022. What is the biggest problem in Africa regions? Everyone knows that it is the financial inclusion. Our financial inclusion rate are very low here. That's why I think since 5 years ago, more and more people are flooding into fintech industries, mobile money providers, payment processors, the microloan providers. They are trying to fixing the gap try to fix the problems of the financial inclusion. If you are asking me, is Web3 or DeFi will really replace the traditional financial system? I cannot give a very confirmed answer, but I think based on my understanding, I think it's really a good complementary of the current financial system. If we're talking about traditional financial system, let's break down into several sectors. If we're talking about saving products, the only way for the users to access to a saving product, maybe they go to the bankings, right? Put their money there to have a very low yield comparing with the inflation rate. Otherwise, if they don't have the access to the bank, that's why SACCOs and the cooperatives, these kind of informal saving groups are very popular here. So these are two main ways for people to access to saving products. But if we are talking about DeFi, people can stake, put all of their coins, no matter it is stable coins or maybe other altcoins, staking together to have a relatively higher yield comparing with the traditional saving products, right? So if we're talking about saving and staking here, I think DeFi really help people to access to more and a wide coverage of the saving products. Let's move to lending and borrowing. So we know maybe a majority of users in African regions, most countries, they have no access to the lending product from the traditional bank. Or if they can have the access, I think the process is really torturing, right? They need to deliver a lot of documents, waiting for the approval, and then finally get their loans with a very, very high interest. But if you have the access to cryptocurrency world, blockchain world, actually you can borrow loans in the method of cryptocurrency, right? It helps people to have a more convenient way to access to the microloans or maybe financial service. A third example here is about the cross-border payment. So the current traditional financial system, how to solve this cross-border payment, we use SWIFT. It's very long. It's not instant, and the cost is not very low, right? But if we are using cryptocurrency, I mean, if the user just to transfer or convert their fiat into USDT or maybe other stablecoin, and then they can send to any wallet address about their friends, family, relatives, and then their friends and family relatives just convert the stablecoin again to the local fiat currency. It's very convenient, and the best part is it's instant. They don't need to wait, right? So take saving, lending, borrowing, and cross-border payment as examples. I do think a DeFi or Web3 is a good complementary for our current financial system. So yes, I think it brings a lot of chances and opportunities, especially to emerging markets. But if we're talking about if it is the biggest opportunity here, I cannot confirm, but I think it's better to have, right? That is my answer on this topic.
100%. Thank you very much. I think a lot of people, so many people are still skeptical when it comes to blockchain, crypto, all of that. And it's kind of good to know the different use cases. So yes, thank you very much for sharing your insights. And Vanessa is here to kick me out.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies. I think we've run into quick close for this particular panel. It's been very insightful. It's been very interesting, and in all honesty, stay longer. I next panel, but very appreciative of all of you, and I just wish that we will continue these conversations in interesting ways, from our different workspaces, our different organizations, and how we're constantly ensuring that all of these things are being talked about, and we're not just saying the words, we're actually walking the walk. So thank you so much, Shola. Thank you so much, Yvonne, Laura, Chioma, Bisola, and Solape. And then I'm just going to move straight into the ladies who are going to be on the next panel. Thank you, ladies. Have a good evening. Don't go anywhere. You're still here. Just
thank you.
In the background. Okay. So I'm going to be showcasing the next panel. So yes, I have a bunch of interesting ladies here. Exciting stuff. Super, super exciting. Okay, a sec. Let me just be sure that all of us are here. Okay, cool. Felicia is here. Felicia, why are you making that face? Girl. Hi, Joana.
Hey, everyone.
Anto is here. lovely women. They're looking so cute. Okay. So, okay. If you're just joining us, you've missed the first panel, but it's okay. You can still catch up with the second one. We're not really complaining, to be honest, but so far it's been so good. And gosh, this is so exciting. This final is the final I like to say is we don't have to be politically correct, because in all honesty, everyone here has just been through like multiple parts of this, and they're like able to have this conversation with us. Now, before I start, I have to introduce my co-moderator, no other than my fellow colleague at Ingressive Capital, Yinka. Where are you? Looking for you.
Hello.
There you go. There you are. Hi.
Hi.
So, Yinka, before we introduce everybody, girl, what did you do with your hair? Kindly introduce yourself. So she's going to be co-moderating with me on this panel, which is economically empowering women in businesses. Yinka, introduce yourself, and then I can just talk about the other ladies.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming on this session, for joining us, especially to the speakers, and of course also to the listeners. We're grateful that you're here. And my name is Onyeka Nwobu, like Vanessa said. I work as a data analyst at Ingressive, and yeah, that's it for me.
You're like, yeah, that's it. Okay. So before I start, I'm going to introduce this amazing woman. I'll start with Onyeka because I'm seeing her first. So Onyeka, hi, can you just tell everyone about you and the amazing things that you're doing?
Hi everyone. Vanessa, can you confirm if you can hear me clearly before I get Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's been amazing just listening to everything that all the ladies have been sharing. My name is Onyeka Nwobu, and I am co-founder at FRUGIRLS, which is basically a fashion resale and financial literacy platform for young African women. And I am also the founder of Disruptive by Design, also known as DBD Africa, which is a branding education platform that is designed to partner with African female-led startups to help grow their businesses through disruptive branding techniques. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. Moving on to Felicia. Felicia, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Felicia. I am a strategy consultant, really, with experience in e-commerce and consulting, and I'm currently working as Chief of Staff at Easy Wholesale, which is an e-commerce platform where wholesalers and retailers can purchase used devices. So I kind of help with defining a personal strategy at Easy. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. It's like she's really calm. It's like, okay, cool. Okay. Hi, Joana. You're next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. So I'm Joana. I'm the program manager at Antler. We're a global early stage VC and venture builder based out of Nairobi. And so what we do is that we support entrepreneurs in the very early stages with capital, mentorship, and access to our advisors.
And last but not least,
Hi.
Can you
Good evening, everyone. Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Antoinette Lecky. I'm a media personality and entrepreneur. And recently this year, I have rebranded myself a little bit. I'm calling myself an educator, entertainer, and entrepreneur. These are all my things. I think part of why I'm really excited about this conversation today is because we're talking about economic empowerment. I think it's key that we all look in that direction. I think I'm so more focused on my economic empowerment right now. So I'm really excited about the conversation.
Okay, thank you. So now the first question is going to be obviously discussion, because I want to know your thoughts. I want to know how you feel about it. I want to know how you navigate around it. So I'm going straight to, so as you know, all of you on this panel, literally just like doing amazing work in your different like works of life, and which is amazing. However, the first question I'm gonna ask, which just seems a bit like intense, but really very necessary, is how do we make sure that more women have as much opportunities as you? I mean, obviously you didn't just fall into the opportunities, but then like, how do you constantly make sure that women have more opportunities like you currently have? And how are you ensuring that we're empowering the ladies behind you to constantly just, you know, fill in the gap, as opposed to just be complacent and saying, woe is me, there's no like job that, you know, can take on? Because this is not tech. This is not focusing on just tech. This is an array of businesses, and this is empowering women economically. So I'm going to start with Antler, because you're the most diverse currently.
Yeah, a bunch of things going on for me.
Yeah.
But I think when speaking about this particular topic, I'll speak on being a, I guess, an influencer or a media personality, entertainer, and what have you. So for me personally, I try my best to use my platform to always push the women agenda, which is not something that most of my colleagues push. They claim to push a women agenda, but they don't actually do it. So for me, I am very, politically savvy. Most of the conversations I hold are about education, about women's rights. Like just now, I just posted in my story how the House has decided to reconsider 3 of the bills that were dropped a few days ago. I'm pretty sure a bunch of my other colleagues don't even know there were bills that existed. So I tried myself first to be educated on topics. I think that's key. We're in a world right now where social media is it's almost everything, and everyone's worried about how good they look, who they're looking good with, who they're looking good for. Yeah, I want to look good as well, but that's not really what I'm focused on. I'm more focused on the educational aspects of using social media, which I'll be honest and say to everyone on this call, affects me as a brand a bit, because being a celebrity or what have you, people want to see me looking sexy. People want to see me doing all these things. And yeah, I understand. I don't care to. So I don't necessarily get as many gigs as other people. I don't necessarily maybe make as much money as some of my colleagues, because I'm not selling sex, or I'm not selling. Of course I do it once in a while, but it's not what my brand is known for. You don't see any of my other colleagues on this call because of a reason, So I think these are some of these, when we're talking about economic empowerment, this is also it. Trying to find people that are not necessarily in the space that are doing things for the space. So typically when people think of me as a celebrity, they probably only see me as someone who can work for a skincare brand or work for an alcohol brand or whatever, but I think I'm way more versed in that. So that's also something I'm trying to do, to prove that we have, just because someone looks a certain way or behaves a certain way maybe from 9 to 5, they can be someone else from 5 to 9. So these are part of the conversation I try to have. I try to use my platform to like promote these things. This month I said that any of my followers that sends me a DM and says, oh, can you post my brand or my product, I'll post it for them, because the Instagram page is already there. It doesn't affect me if I can post someone's flyer for a day. Like, what's the difference? So these are some of the things I try to have these kind of conversations. And right now I've been extremely passionate about voter education, which is basically my biggest project right now. And of course, I'm not getting paid for it. This is just me as my civic duty, as an influencer, as someone who has almost 900,000 followers on Instagram. I want every single person to know they need to vote, especially women, especially because we just had the House completely rescind every single bill that was created for us. So I try to promote these kind of conversations. I try to push this along with my platform. It's a lot harder than it looks. You might think, oh, because you post something and you have so many followers, everyone is seeing it, but they really aren't. So for me, I'm just more passionate about, continuing to push it through. No, I'm talking about Nigeria. I live in Nigeria. I live in Lagos. I'm talking about Nigeria. So I try my best to push these kind of conversations, because in Nigeria, we don't have these conversations. People don't care about voting. People don't care about what women are doing. we're having all these conversations, and tomorrow everyone's going to go back to work and they're still going to say, see that one, see what she's looking like, you know? So this is what I try to remind people, that it's not only about today. Today is just one day that we're having this conversation. What about tomorrow? What about the next day? So I try my best to use my platform. So I know everyone here has so many amazing companies where they probably, you know, work with women directly, or they're able to fund. I don't have that space. My only space is to be able to use my voice, use my platform to try and promote these kind of conversations. And honestly, it's frustrating, because I know when I'm posting my fashion, I have my likes, the views, plenty. When I'm doing anything else, it's a lot harder, much, much harder. I even posted today, oh, what are you doing to break the bias? I got no response. But then when I posted a picture of myself doing the bias, I got more, oh, you look so nice. I don't want you to tell me I look nice. That's not what I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, what are we doing to break the bias? So it's very frustrating trying to have these conversations, but I'm going to keep having them because we need to have them. So yeah, that's my space. I just try to continue to have conversations, use my platform, use the number of followers, use every single platform I'm on. Now I'm even posting things on TikTok. People don't want to see that on TikTok, but I'm going to post it there because it's there. I'm going to try and use every single platform I have to try and have these kind of conversations. That it needs to go beyond March 8th. It needs to be March 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, year after year after year. How do we actually create actual gender equality? Yeah.
Thank you, Anto. That's actually very insightful, and in all honesty, very, very truthful, because the whole back and forth of the whole conversation about Women's Day keeps going. It just seems like lip service. So people will just be like, oh, you know, Women's Day, you know, I think we enough. We have enough Women's Day. Come on. And it's just, as much as we have the conversation, unconscious biases constantly just like creep up in interesting ways. And I'm just really glad that just having to sit in the room and have like all of you ladies with different like parts to it is just interesting. I'm gonna send this question back to you, Onyeka. What do you think about this? And how would you say, in terms of empowering women, to the ones that you know that are behind us, like how do you ensure that they also have some level of like push as well, just so that they have the right direction moving forward?
Yeah. I think the first thing that I realized with a lot of young women, because FRUGIRLS sort of focuses on young women, is it first starts with their minds. So I find that there has to be like continuous mindset shifting conversations. It's a lot of unlearning where they're coming from, what they've seen, how they've seen like their mothers sort of, you know, how they've seen people who came before them interact with, like when it comes to finances and all of those things. So I find that a lot of the time, the first thing that we're struggling with is not even that, okay, women don't have the skills or they don't have like, they can't do all of these things. It's first of all, like the mindset. And I think like in the first panel, a couple ladies mentioned this, and it's just like, how do we, the first thing for me is like, how do we help them shift their mindset? So it's, for me, it's not just like affirmations. It's also, I know we talk a lot about impact, and I wanted to speak about this, you know, just subsequently. We talk a lot about impact, women and all of that. And while that's nice, it's also good to train women to not be scared of money conversations, not be scared to negotiate, not be scared to want money, to ask for money, you know, like all of these things. It's not just about creating impact, like, yes, that's good, but like, we also want them to be comfortable around money. So I find that a lot of the reasons why, like, you know, we're struggling with women empowerment, especially like young women, is first of all, they don't even think that they can attain that level of, you know, economic success. So it first starts with them inside of their mind. So for me, it's also like when we're talking, it's like, how do you become a go-getter? How do we have conversations that shift their minds a bit? And continuous conversations, right, about how they can shift their minds and also become more comfortable with, you know, finances and all of those things. So that's, for me, I think it's a mindset thingy with women, first of all, before it is anything else, because they do have the skills. They can do, you know, like they have it. So it's just, how do we make them know, like, okay, you have it and you just need to go after it, basically. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm moving this to Joana and Felicia, because y'all were like, you know, regular 95. So the first question, or the question is pretty much, do you think organizations can incorporate inclusivity in the office, from sensitizing team members about unconscious bias to recruitment conversations and promotion cycle, just to fix the gender gap. How do you think that these kind of conversations can happen in the office? And not speaking about HR, like, debrief once a month, and just like, sensitization meetings every quarter. I'm talking about how you intentionally doing this, and how do you think companies can do this intentionally? I'll start with Felicia.
Thanks. That's a really good question. I think we're getting to the time where, companies and businesses kind of have started realizing the need for inclusion and diversity. So of course, a lot of companies have started incorporating like inclusion and diversity methods into the organizational culture. So I think a big part of it is making sure that you're not just like saying, oh, we're inclusive and we're diversive. It's incorporating it into your diversity culture, into your organizational culture. So it's down to when you're writing, like when you're recruiting, when you're writing the job description, you're not using like he or she identifiers in the job description to kind of discourage women. And also like when you're recruiting as well, something we practice at Easy is to make sure that we kind of blind out age or gender or gender identifiers, like their names as well, so that we are able to kind of shortlist a really good list of candidates before we even get to know who they are with regards to their gender, right? Another thing we do is we openly discuss within the management team, which is also quite diverse. Within the management team, we discuss what kind of teams are lacking that balance within the team. So then we kind of always make sure to openly discuss that. And also for I think regards to promotion cycle, something we do especially at Easy is to make sure like there's openness and structure with regards to promotion cycles. So in your contract, you're going to get information about when you need to discuss like future growth opportunities within the company. So, at the 6 months mark, I'm telling you, hey, within the 1 year mark, this is where I think you're going to go to in the next stage, at working at Easy. So it's those things that I think are important to be incorporating into your organizational culture. So I think that's how we also make sure to kind of call out bias within teams, like me personally within my team. When I hear comments that, just don't sit well with me in regards to like people saying, oh, somebody's saying that because she's a woman, just kind of negative comments, I always make sure to openly call it out. So I think those are kind of, and just making sure you have a culture that has psychological safety for people to also be open to call that out is also quite important. I know as well, personally for me, I haven't stayed long in companies where I haven't felt psychologically safe as a woman, and also just felt like I was valued as a woman. So if I don't feel that value, I'm not going to give you my value as well. So I think those are the kind of ways where you can incorporate those kind of things in your culture as a business or a company. Yeah.
Thank you. Joana, you on the hot seat.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything. Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted me to build up on this.
Yeah, literally, just like take it on.
No, I was just going to say, I completely agree with what Felicia just said. For me, it's a bit different because I come from a work environment where we're all women. So some of the issues that, would exist in our organizations elsewhere, I don't really have. The only thing that I think is important, and this is based on my previous experience before joining Antler, is that I think that in cases where in cases of teams with male colleagues with different cultures, sometimes it's very important actually to deliberately, have these discussions and this educational part, and that, some like less obvious ways to kind of build that into your team or might not work, right? And whatever you choose to use in a way to make this most efficient, this could be like empirical data just showing, and so much information exists on how teams perform best when there is diversity, but there has to be that kind of deliberate, it maybe not a workshop format or whatever, but however you want to do it, but that does need to exist, I think.
Absolutely lovely. So I'm just going to hand over to Onyeka now, just so that she can put each and every one of you on the hot seat specifically for that. And so Onyeka, you have your pick and choose to ask each and every one of them your questions as I sit in the background. Thank you, lady.
All right. So my first question is for Anto. So I feel like so many times there's usually a lot of talk around, like these days when you say you're a feminist, there's a way people look at you like, feminist indeed. Like, so there's a lot of negative stereotypes about feminists. Like people say things like, oh, feminists are just bitter women, feminists are, but we all know that the actual definition of feminism has nothing to do with all of these negative stereotypes. So what do you think that we can be doing, or how do you think we can effectively respond to these stereotypes when they come at us?
Sure. I think firstly, we're going to have to kind of accept that these stereotypes are going to exist. That's why we have this International Women's Day. That's why we have this forum. For some reason, anytime it's a woman matter, there's an issue. It's like there is this issue. I don't know what it is, but anything related to women from head to toe, inside out, there's an issue. So I think we need to understand that this thing is going to exist, right? People are going to have this issue of what is feminism. So the few of us, or the many of us that know what it is, just have to continue to perpetuate the positivity in it. I think that's more of what it is. Just as we see a negative, instead of fighting the person who's talking about whatever the negative aspect is, just going back and talking about what we're really trying to do. Truly, feminism was originally started because of the pay differential. That's really what, from my knowledge, it was really based on the pay differential. Then we were able to include other aspects of gender equality. So we should strictly talk about that only. There's always going to be someone that hates men because people are going to hate men, and people automatically assume all feminists hate men. That's just, no matter how much we tell people that feminists don't hate men or what have you, I think people, they're still going to think of that because the word literally has feminine in it. So they automatically think there's a divide because of the word. People think it's male versus female just because of the word. I think that's even part of the problem. If the word was pseudo something, something else that didn't have a female context, I think it'd be easier to explain to people that it's not about man-hating gang. But because it has that word, and because so many people now have used it for that purpose, unfortunately, that is more of the issue. I don't even think that men or the people that are against us are the issue. A lot of people calling themselves feminists are only having these kinds of conversations. So they're almost the problem. Not everyone that's a feminist, that's almost a problem. So I think that's also something that we need to discuss when we have these kind of women empowerment conversations. It's not only that there's gender inequality because men exist. We also, as women, many women also are not fighting the same fight with us. They're not fighting the same fight with us. So that adds to the problem. We're already dealing with workforce discrimination. We're already dealing with pregnancy issues and all those kind of things. And then this one is coming to say she hates Shegun. Sis, not today, please. Like, we don't need it today, We don't need it today. So we're also not, even this comment that Nidia just said, that also when we're doing this gender equality, this, our female fight, we do have the differences between minorities. We have, persons of color, and then people that are not of color, who are not always also on the same page with us. Because women of color, we have double times the issues. We have double times what's going on. So I think also it's a matter of realizing that everyone is going to use what they can use for their own personal agenda. So the few of us that know the true cause of what we're doing need to focus on that fight always. We need to always focus on that and not, sorry about that. We need to always focus on that fight and not try to even engage in those other arguments. Let those people that are arguing on the left do what they're doing. Let's us remember we're fighting for gender equality because we want a better future for ourselves and for everyone else. I think that's key. Just trying to understand that fight is just going to exist, because as long as it has the word femme, once it has femme, people are losing their minds. I don't know why, but they're just losing their minds. So the rest of us that can have these kind of positive conversations, we should keep it going.
I totally agree with you, especially with the fact that there are, maybe I should call them, for lack of a better word, enemies within. Like the people that are using feminism to fight their own personal. And I agree that the only way to counter that is just those of us that know the right thing and the actual thing, we have to keep talking about the correct thing that feminism is fighting for.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. So my next question is for Onyeka. And this is in the light of, I like to relate it with what Felicia said about at Easy, where she works, how they are constantly having conversations about gender diversity, about not talking a certain way at people in the teams and all of that. So Onyeka, do you think that we have enough conversations in the workplace generally around gender equality, around women having the right compensations and what have you? Are we having enough conversations, or does it seem like they're shutting us up? Onyeka?
Yeah, I think I would translate that as, is there more awareness about these issues? And I would say, like, for sure, gender equality and, just women in leadership roles, they're now trending topics, and now more than ever. And you can see that in, like, as of 2019, I think one of, or out of 30 of the most used hashtags were women focused. About, like, quite a number of them. You had women in STEM, you had Press for Progress, you had even like your Woman Crush Wednesday, right? So yeah, there's like so many conversations happening, and there's more awareness, right? And especially coming from a place where, like, we're trying to cover up a gap of like 100 years of, that gap in female leadership, like globally. Like, yes, there is more awareness, there's more conversations, but the bigger question is, are these conversations actually converting? And that, to me, like, is the real thing, like, that should be addressed, as opposed to like, oh yes, we're just having conversations, because like real conversations are supposed to produce results, right? They're supposed to actually have like a ripple effect, right? And so far, it just seems like, yes, there's awareness. Yes, there's lots of conversations, but it sounds like a lot of noise at the moment. And you can see this, like, if we're speaking more to like the economic side of things, right, where like there's still like that gender gap in the labor market, right? Even like as at 2020, the World Economic Forum, they released a report, and they sort of showed like we still have over 30% of a gap to fill between men and women in the workforce, right? You have 78% of men who are actively involved in the workforce, and we just have like 55% of women who are actively involved. So there's still like, yeah, I'm hearing a lot of, ongoing conversations, but it's just like, how are we implementing like things that we take from the conversations? How is it working out? Like, how is it converting? So I guess to answer your question in a nutshell, yes, there's more awareness. Yes, there are more conversations. I just don't see like how they're really converting.
Thank you so much. I personally agree that there's a lot of talk, but I'm also not convinced that the talk is translating into action. I just think it's a lot of, just the same way people like to throw buzzwords around. Everybody just likes to say, oh, our organization is diverse and whatnot. But by the time you're looking at the management team and it's like, hey, you're all men. So I agree. And as a follow-up to that, I'd like to ask Joanne or Joanna, like for women working in technology, do you think that, like we have said, there's a lot of talk. Do you think that in the hiring process that generally that women are being given equal chances or equal opportunities when hiring for tech roles? Sorry. Joanna.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for this question. It's actually a bit of a tricky one. Again, I do want to reiterate that I work in a female-only VC. So both the partners, the director, myself, we're all women. So it's also multicultural. So it's one of the more, inclusive environments that I know. But what I will say is this, I think that in terms of how we're doing with regards to inclusivity when we hire women, I think it's, with regards if there's a lot of that, I'd say it's yes and no. So what I think is the following. I do think, and it's been talked about a lot in this panel, that there's still a lot of biases, against women, and they come both from women and men themselves, obviously. And that does creep into the hiring process, right? And I think that one of the things that we do see, and having discussions with my colleagues about this, is that it tends to be the case that women are assessed more on traction and men on potential, right? And that goes, whether you're applying to join as an analyst or, as a founder, right? When you're doing some fundraising. But what I think is also interesting is that if you're looking to break in BC, and this is my personal experience and also being based in Kenya, or startups, I think that, if you are capable and you have the right skill set and perhaps education, although that is less and less relevant in tech, you do have a good shot at being hired by some organizations. And the reason why is that I think more and more leaders and more male leaders are aware of how it is important to have a diverse workforce for better outcomes in their organizations, right? And so it's this very beginning of this kind of wave, but I do think that there is this trend starting, right? And I think that a lot of executives, and leaders in the business space have been following some of McKinsey's studies about the topic, and this has definitely sensitized them to that, right? And it does show that, it does impact value creation and profitability in the business, right? So that's why I'm saying yes and no, right? I do think, at the end of the day, it does boil down as to whether you can do the job. And yes, going in knowing that you're going to have people who have biases against you might mean that you have to prove that wrong more than a man, for sure. But I do think that at the end of the day, you do have more and more of a shot there. However, where I think that we're not being as good as we should be or inclusive is that, as was mentioned by one of the panelists earlier, like at the end of the day, you have the gap between the skills gap between men and women has shrunk considerably, and you have so many, like nearly maybe an equal number of men and women who can do the same job, right? But it's still not the case that it's represented. And why is that? I think that what we can make more inclusive in the hiring process is just taking into consideration some important things that I think are specific more to women, right? And I identified maybe 4 things that we can do differently to make this better. I think that as a rule, like women, do tend to undersell themselves, and that's anecdotal, but that's also, been like the subject of studies, right? Like Harvard Business Review studies, etc. So a lot of women choose to self-select, right? And Oluwasola, who was on the panel earlier, I loved when she said, just apply and see what happens, right? And I would hope that most women think that way, but you know what? Like, it's not the case. And I have a very good example, actually, just the other day. I forwarded this job to a very qualified friend of mine, and her first reaction is she read the whole JD, and then she stopped at one point of one thing that she didn't know, or she didn't feel qualified. She's like, no, I can't apply. I don't know anything about this. And I was like, what? I was so shocked. I was like, but surely, it's not about you being a specialist, right? And you'll have other, how can I say, attributes to the role, right? So that's number one. I think the second thing that we need to do to make, hiring more inclusive is that, take into consideration that women care a lot about culture, right? And so are you projecting a culture that is appealing to women? And then you have to break it down a bit. What does it actually mean, right? Ultimately, I do think it has to be a bit... Sorry, I think there's someone who's unmuted. Maris? Yeah. Anyway, so
sorry, Joanna. Sorry, excuse me. If you're not in the, if you Actually, just keep doing that. We're just going to take you off the call. Please, can you just put yourself on mute when the panelists are speaking? Thank you.
Sorry about that. No worries. So what I was saying, yeah, so that's really important. So how do you like showcase your culture and don't like, obviously, like it's a given that you want to be genuine, right? Because we do see through, fake messaging about, diversity, right? And I think that the two last things is, are we reaching the women through the right channels, right? Like, is there something in the way we talk about the positions that can be changed? Are we, going to the right WhatsApp groups? Is it the right person advertising, the opportunity? And I think that, would help with that issue. And finally, as was mentioned earlier by Felicia, there is a thing around, trying out blind hiring. And although, at some point you do have an interview stage, at least in, most of the positions in tech. So, but maybe they're having women sit on the interviews alongside men, right? Would maybe ensure that there is a fairer hiring process. And I'll just conclude, and sorry, I took a bit of time on this, but with saying that, at the end of the day, yes, hiring and being inclusive in hiring is one thing. The other is retaining women, and that's a whole different kind of discussion that I think we should have.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like, I totally relate with everything that you said. And also I find Felicia's example that she gave earlier about blind hiring, I find it very fantastic. Like, even if you can't do that up until the final stage, doing that at the early stages really makes a lot of difference. My last question is for Felicia. So Felicia, you're at a leadership position at Easy, and there's usually this there's this thing people say where they say, oh, women bosses are wicked or things like. So it looks like when a man is a leader or when a man is a boss and the man is strict and firm and does his job, everybody will be like, oh, I like that man. He's a fantastic leader. He has nice leadership skills and what have you. But when it's a woman on that same seat that is being strict and firm, you start hearing things like, oh, that woman is too bossy. And I'm like, okay, but she's a leader. She's expected to be firm. And it just feels like it's a bias because maybe women are expected to act a certain way and it doesn't matter if they're leaders or not. So Felicia, do you agree that those biases exist? And are there some other of those biases that you think that we need to change in the workplace?
Of course, I mean, I think anyone who identifies as a woman and has worked maybe even anywhere, even if it's not in the corporate world, you definitely will have come across such biases. And I think something else that I'm just realizing is I think unconscious bias is going to be everywhere. Like it's very, very hard to get over bias. So that's why it's unconscious bias. So that's why when I was initially talking earlier, it's when you put in structure, when you put in processes, it can be easier to kind of mitigate those biases, right? So, I mean, yes, of course, there are instances where, you come across as bossy or people are, calling you bossy or whatever. I mean, I don't care. I think we need to get into a situation or get into being more comfortable with being called bossy. Maybe we just need to reclaim the word bossy in the first place. And maybe if men are calling, if they're calling leadership skills for men, then maybe we just need to call it bossy skills for women. So we just need to, there are so many instances in real life where people are, where marginalized communities have reclaimed words that were used as, to put them down or in a derogatory way. So we just need to reclaim it and accept that we're bossy. I don't really care that someone calls me bossy or that someone calls me wicked or whatever, because I think if I'm justified, if there are processes and if there's a structure and I'm justified in what I'm saying and I am proving what I'm saying with facts and with the results as well, then I really don't care for the word bossy or whatever. I accept it as it is. And I think that's just a way for us as women to kind of have a way to kind of control the bias as well, not just give into it. I hope I've been able to answer your question, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just basically, are there related biases that you think that we need to sort of change or?
Okay. I mean, the way I think about bias, like I said, is not that you can't necessarily change the way people see you. I think what you have to do is be sure and firm of yourself and be able to prove yourself. Really, I think it's really hard to change the way people view you, except if you're because the way I think about it is it's really hard to change the way people view you or have the bias towards you, because these are kind of things they have ingrained in them. So I don't really care for it. I don't really try to, you don't take it in, you don't internalize it in a way. And you just work around it, and you kind of, like we say, break the ceiling in some ways. Yeah. I think that's the way I think about bias. Of course, no matter what, as women, we're always going to face it. It's not realistic for us to say, oh, we can change the way people see or change biases in communities that we are working in. What we can say is, hey, rise above that. Really, in some cases, that's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I like most about your response is that we need to maybe reclaim the word bossy. And I saw someone saying in the comments too, or in the chat, that I don't mind being called bossy. Like, I'm a boss, so a boss should be bossy. So, and I mean, I also understand that as long as there are structures to show that you are not deliberately marginalizing anyone, you're only doing your job and what is expected of you, then people can go on and call you whatever they want. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry. And the way I see it, I also think is, you know, your value as a woman, and you know the value that you bring into whatever spaces that you're going to be in. Just don't try to, I mean, I understand that it's, you know, there's high unemployment and all of this, but try to only participate or provide value to spaces where you are appreciated as a woman, and spaces that recognize that, and spaces that make you safe. So as a woman, so that recognizes safety as a woman. So that's another way we can. And when we participate in these spaces, then we're able to provide really great value to these spaces. And these are the spaces that would end up then being, that would end up being successful. And then we can even have more women in these spaces. So I think that's another way to kind of combat the issue as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll hand over to Vanessa now.
Yes, I'm here to just tell you thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Onyeka. This is actually, I don't know. Why is it that I don't want anyone to go? It's so weird. But I really appreciate the fact that we're very candid with everything that we're saying. I think there's a level in life you get to that, like Felicia is doing right now. It's like, I don't care enough to baby your feelings in the workplace. You cannot accept the reality that you have work to do, and I have to like do things like ask you questions a certain way and go through these questions with you. I'm so sorry. Maybe you need to go back home and look for a therapist, but I'm not doing that for you in the workplace. And in all honesty, I find that very interesting, because when you have to talk about these things, everyone's like, it's so weird. I think it hits home a little bit, because sometimes people just look at women who are just like, very, even if you're very like, you're very normal, calm, you're telling them, you're just like, oh, I didn't like that you've done this a certain way. Can you go back and like redo it? It's like, oh, she's finicky. I don't know, the words are so plenty when it comes to women. It's like she's finicky. Then you come back and say, oh, she's like asking you to do things a certain way. She's busy. And no, she's asking you to like go do a whole back and forth. Oh, she's demanding. She's requiring you to make sure everything is put together. She's anal. Like there's so many words with women. I'm just like, wait, maybe we should start using them as like, you know, in the terraces. Just like put it there. Just like let's add them. This is the boss is the word. The rest is what we're looking for, like as the other, like the what's it called? The synonym for it. It would be woman. She's bossy, woman. She's dedicated, woman. She's demanding, woman. Maybe it would help everyone to make everything put together. But then, like, you know, when he's like, he's very, he just likes his things to be done a certain way. He's a thriving boss. And then I'm just like rolling my eyes. Anyway, that being said, we've come to the end of this panel that I don't want to end, but I think that we should. And I'm going straight to our closing speaker, Adenike. Show your face for us. Let's just see how pretty you look today.
Hi, everyone.
Anyway, where should we?
Yeah,
thank you for her.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Guys, won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, put together, pretty. Everybody wore red lipstick today. Nobody told me
Like,
I should have brought my own.
That's the whole thing. Once you're not doing anything, just apply your red lipstick and everything.
Red lipstick just put everyone like put together. I was just sitting down here thinking I wanted to be like, you know, put the mirror. Yes, everyone was wearing red lipstick, looking pink. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you guys so much.
Because the things you will see when we stand up, you're on your own.
Please don't stand up. So thank you so much, guys. I'm just going to go straight to Adenike, who's going to introduce herself and then give us a closing speech. This has been so super amazing. But yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's been an interesting past 2 hours. I joined from the start. To keep myself busy, I was reading a book, and it's been such an eye-opening session. I woke up this morning very despondent about the day, and I don't think I hid my feelings about that for anybody who follows me. And, you know, I had done back-to-back posts on my Insta story because I just felt like, again, another day of hashtags, another day of women panels, and by 9th, we're back to, you know, business as usual. But I think I got my groove back maybe about midday, and I'm still funky in between, but this session has been, or rather this has been an entire productive use of my time, to be very honest. I want to thank every single person who has spoken, everybody who is dropping a comment on, everybody who's dropping comments in the chat sessions. My name is Adenike Oyetunde-Lawal. I am human, I'm a woman, and I'm here. For whatever it is worth, I have no ideas why the convener decided that I was the best fit to do this. And, you know, long story short, we're here, and I've been told to talk about imposter syndrome, which, well, I'm sure we all have a thing or two to say about imposter syndrome. And then the other half of what it is I'm supposed to talk about is self-appreciation. And the reality about it is both of them are actually very intertwined and very closely related, because in the absence of appreciating what it is that you are, what it is you're bringing to the table, what it is you have, what it is you're capable of getting, you will most definitely suffer, you know, fighting the authenticity of your intellect, which is basically what imposter syndrome is. You're this person, you have done this, you have done that, and somehow you are questioning so many things. Who do they think I am? You get invited on a panel, you know, and you're wondering, wait, I don't get, there are like 1 billion people on this earth. Why do I have to be the one to speak about it? And then if you're someone like me, you subconsciously start to get, what's the word? replacements for yourself. And you go, oh, I know this other person who does an equally amazing job. This person is this person is that. And except you wake up, some self-actualization, and then you say, wait, what exactly is it that I'm doing? I'm trying to refer people when I am capable of doing it. And in the event that you are not even capable of doing it, where you have space and time to prepare, okay, if you're Nigerian, you know what that is. So just give it a few minutes, seconds, the electricity will be back.
I'll go through it, it's fine.
In the event that, you wake up one day and you say, oh, wow, what's going on here? I can do this thing, I'm capable of doing it. And then you say, okay, I may have lost a slot on this particular panel. How about every subsequent one, so long as there's space, I'll probably consider it. For people who charge speaking engagement gigs, it plays out completely differently, and I'll explain to you why. I think I got quite a number of invitations to speak virtually and physically, and I turned down every single one of them until I think this one and the one I'm doing tomorrow. And the only reason why I took this one was the person who did the connect, it was a bonding experience for me and her. And I just felt, okay, you know what, just tell your friend to do me an email. And that's because as a brand, as a person, I know the value it is that I am now bringing. And through the years, I have continued to hone that. So I believe very strongly that when brands want to, put action to their lip service and say, oh, we have an International Women's Day event, we would love for you to come speak. And they say, okay, no problem. Can I get an email, or can you do me an email? And then you send them your rate card. Oh, then you start to hear plenty grammar from, oh, we didn't plan for this, to we're working with a little budget, to we didn't think you would charge for it. It's a very thin line, because at that point you are conflicted with whether or not you should take it because you just want to take it, or whether or not you begin to question yourself. Do they think I'm not what it is that I'm demanding that they pay me? And in that instance, I find out that a lot of people in my space start to question who they are and what it is their capacities are. But it's a journey and it's a process. Once you know the value it is that you bring, even when you begin to question yourself every now and then, because it's actually a human factor, it is okay. You begin to ask yourself a few questions. Who am I? What is it that I'm capable of doing? What skills is it that I have? What is it I'm bringing to the table? Does this brand or, does this organization I intend to start to work with tally with what my value systems are? What are the triggers? Why do I find myself in a place where I'm questioning the authenticity of my intellect? Is it something someone said, or am I intimidated by the co-panelist? How do I think I can bridge that space in the event that I have identified that there is probably a knowledge gap? I recently started a course, and I started a course in special needs education. And to be very honest with you, the grammatic and the knowledge-based information is really mind-blowing. And it doesn't separate from the fact that though I didn't go to school to officially learn inclusive education or diversity, as the case is, from practice and living with disability myself, I have through the years been able to acquire experientially the things that I'm now learning in class and using the right words or terminologies. And I find that my experience through the years has actually not gone wasted. But there was a certain time where I felt, oh, so-and-so persons are on a certain panel and they have gotten qualifications or certifications from different schools around the world or different institutions around the world, where they probably went to study things about diversity or inclusion or special needs education. And here I am, I wasn't coerced into starting this course I'm currently on. I knew that I evolved into this person, and I said, you know what, I think it's about time that I equip myself for what it is that the knowledge base is about. So I found the gap, the knowledge gap, and I'm doing what? I'm actually working towards achieving that. I see that so many times, even when we experience imposter syndrome, not that we do not value who it is that we are, because some people feel like when you experience imposter syndrome, it means that you don't know who you are this, this toxic positivity. But it's okay for someone to want to question, oh, do I think I'm capable of filling this gap? There's 10 of us that apply for this particular role. I do not know any of these other 9 contenders. And somehow We haven't met physically because a lot of things are happening virtually now. But along the line, maybe there was a general meetup virtually, and then I picked one or two names from the other persons, and I went to Google, who's this person? What does this person do? And then I see the long retinue of what it is this one person has done, the foundations that they have worked with, the this and that. It's very normal and very human to feel intimidated. But in those moments when your emotions have settled into your person, you bring out a piece of paper. I was doing that when we were listening, and I started to write, who is it that I think that I am? As simple as these things are, they have such a powerful effect on the head. Something that also works for me when it comes to questioning or appreciating myself is gratitude. I love gratitude because I have seen in the last 4 or 5 years that gratitude has changed the wiring of my brain. It sounds very simplistic, but I can promise you that no matter how dire a situation is, no matter how bad it is that I feel, no matter how despondent or pessimistic I am about any situation and almost everything, I see myself no longer wallowing in those feelings for much longer than I used to prior to 5 years ago. And I, owe it significantly to my mindset of gratitude. It makes you appreciate even who it is that you are and the process that you've been through. We're in a world where not everybody needs to go to high school or college to be who it is that they want to be at the top of whatever it is that they want to, be, or wherever it is they want to be. And then you find that when you start to question your authenticity, one of the best ways to do it is to do what? Bring out a simple piece of paper or get a journal or get your mobile devices and just start to write. Write through your process, where you were, what you have done, what you never thought you'll be, possible to achieve, the things that you never thought possible. There was a time I used to live in a cubicle somewhere in Ikoyi. It was a really small space, really, really small, but I was right there, smack there in the middle of Lagos. I had electricity 24/7. I had water 24/7. I wasn't even paying rent because it was my friend's BQ, but I didn't like the space. And though I knew it was a season for me to just crunch and just stay, when it was time to exit that space, I knew it was time and I exited that space. So in the event that I wake up one day and begin to question where it is that I am, maybe where I live, or the need for me to relocate to a different place, a bigger place, I am questioning and asking myself, where were you 5 years from now? You were living in a cubicle, you were in this space, and see where you have gotten to. What plans have you set in place in ensuring that from that moment up until now, you were able to move into a different place that you're desirous of? Because one has to also be realistic when one is battling imposter syndrome or self-appreciation. No one can love you better than yourself, no matter who the person is. I don't care who the person is: spouse, a partner, a parent, a child, a sibling, a co-worker, a stranger, a friend. Best person to love you is yourself. For a lot of us, it takes a lot of time for us to get there because of life's experiences. But what I realized that even with dealing with imposter syndrome, it's also a process. So every single thing is a process to appreciating what it is that you are, the process to realizing that through the years, you've been able to garner the skills that is necessary for where it is you think you want to go to. In 3 years, in 4 years, if you have an aspiration career-wise, financially, even personal development, whatever it is, if you write it down. I'm a Christian, and there's a part of my Bible that says, write down the vision, make it plain, as simplistic as you possibly can. I'd love to go to so-and-so school. I'd love to travel to so-and-so place. I'd love to do this. I'd love to, mentor so-and-so. I'd love to visit so-and-so high school or secondary schools. Write it down. When Anto started to speak, I started to smile because as a younger child, my parents are very political. They've been political almost all my life. And I delved into the political space as early as 5, if my memory serves me right. I have observed different political cycles in this country as a person without disability and as a person with disability. I have voted in every election cycle since I turned 18 in Nigeria. And I see that one of the things that affects us as a people is the realism. We don't want to tell ourselves the truth. In all the years that I have been active politically, and I use active very loosely, I have seen the same cycle of people over and over and over again. These people are now going gray. Why? Because at the time when I was exposed to them, I was under 10. Now they're in their late 40s, early 50s, almost some of them in their 60s. My father is in his 70s. My mom is in her 60s. And I know the people that I've been exposed to in their age range, they are still very politically active. And I say that without mincing words. They are politically active to the ward level, to the state congresses, to everything. So the first time I told myself that what stops you and your friends, or the category of people that you know, from vying for elective positions, was the first time I told myself, you need to actually get your hands dirty and get your hands in the mud to find out how you can get involved, realistically in the political space. So yes, it's okay for us to want to question who it is that we are, what we want to do. We know what imposter syndrome is. We know, apparently I even found out that there are several types of imposter syndromes, things I never even knew existed. Yes, sometimes imposter syndromes are foisted on us by ourselves, sometimes by the people we love, sometimes by the people who are competitors, sometimes by the people who do not even know that they're fostering on us, elements that can trigger us into being, start questioning ourselves. But one thing that we must all ask ourselves is, what are the things that trigger me? You must be honest with yourself. Is it one person that once you hang out with this person or you have a chat with this person, you leave very defeatist? Not because the person intentionally does it, because some people do not do it intentionally. Some people are just high flyers, and they probably assess you through different lenses where they're able to express to you how, look, this is where I've been. The last time we spoke, these are the things that have happened. This is this. You go back to your house and you're feeling so defeated that, last time I spoke to this person was 2 years ago. Not much has changed in my life. Now, for a number of them, they don't do it knowingly, which is why it's necessary to know what the triggers are. So if you can identify that for every 3 years when you meet up with this person, you always leave defeatist, the best thing I'll tell you to do is to not hang out with this person at all until you're able to process your emotions, until you're able to better understand why you feel the way that you feel, because truthfully, some of them do not even intend to make you feel that way. So the work is on you and not on the person. Yes, I know some people say some things intentionally to hurt you, intentionally to downplay your expertise, proudness, or how good it is that you are. Make sure you identify what the triggers are. If you do not identify what the triggers are, today you come for this conference, you feel very pumped, you go back to work tomorrow, a colleague of yours is probably just giving you gist intentionally or otherwise, and then you're back to where you were before we even gingered you up. So please, 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 whatever it is you take out from this conference, amongst the many amazing things that earlier speakers had said, I'm imploring you to make sure you identify, in the event that you know that you've struggled with imposter syndrome at one point or the other, please make sure you identify what the triggers are. Once you identify what the triggers are, you can now better plan your life around how to manage the event, in hoping that it is not a recurring person. It's not someone you have to see at work. It's not your boss. Some people have their bosses as their triggers. And in the instance where you cannot resign from the job, what do? It means that after a while, you probably have to tell yourself the truth to say, okay, what is my plan? How long do I need to stay here for? Is this more a transactional thing working in this organization, or is this me killing myself? Some people have had to walk away from jobs that outsiders see as the best things. But when you sit them down to ask many things, you realize that outside of money, outside of fame, outside of whatever else the world has qualified as success, peace of mind supersedes everything. And once you do not have peace of mind that gives you understanding, it's not worth it. So what else can I say? I believe very strongly that you must tell yourself the truth. Please tell yourself the truth. If it's necessary and you're able to afford it, please also get a therapist, because a lot of the times it is beyond just knowing your triggers with imposter syndrome. Some of it are actually ingrained in us. And until we trace back to where it started, who planted it, under what circumstances, we may not move forward as individuals. And if we don't move forward as individuals, the larger society will eventually not move forward. So thank you again, every single person. And thank you to Vanessa and the entire team for finding me worthy, to ask me to give this closing remark. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, don't sound so humble. Jesus, you're amazing. Stop.
I did not sound humble. I just said,
you're amazing. No, I meant like modest.
Okay, sorry.
No, Jesus, because I think it was anyone that can deliver the reality of every single thing that you said in the most succinct way. And I've literally followed you across the board, like since I've come across you, and it's been a minute. And it's just not just now, it's not just the things you say, it's how you deliver it. There's a part of me, there was a part I learned somewhere that's not what you say, it's how you say it. And for some reason, you're one of those women who it's not what you say, it's how you say it, because you can tell someone now that you're a terrible human being, but when you tell them, they're just gonna be like, oh, I can see the terrible in me. And I've known that. And I've known that since I've been following your work. So it just gives me so much pleasure to not just have you here, but also let all of these amazing women who are on women and men who are on this call or this Zoom meeting to see what I'm not just seeing, but also like the things that they need to hear as well. I want to just correct a very interesting thought process before I close. Women's Day events are not only for women.
Yep.
Can we just say an amen to that?
Amen.
Because I don't ever want that to ever be misconstruction that comes up or happens. And I don't know why that alienation needs to happen, because the Women's Day events that we do are not just to empower women, but also to educate men. And all of that comes together. I would like to say together for those who love God, but I would just say it as comes together to ensure that we have a very balanced world. So no, I just want to correct that. It's one of the topics of conversations and questions that came up running this, and it happened the same thing last year. Women's Day events are not for only women. They're meant to empower women, because one thing, and I need everyone to do this moving forward in the year, is if you see panelists or panels where there is 6 men and 1 woman, that's a problem. Let's just start with that. If you see a panel that has, and that's why when women selfishly ensure that they actually only have women on panels for Women's Days, literally there is like 364 days in the year where it's just like men and can be men or male only panels. So this just is a selfish way. It's not selfish, but it's just like it's an inclusive way of ensuring that women actually talk about women related conversations. So we don't want to now do it and ensure and prevent men from being part of the conversation, because we cannot build an actively inclusive world if everyone is not pulling their weight. If you're not an ally, if you're not a participant, if you're not participatory, it doesn't work. Just wanted to say that and put that out there. Please spread the word and spread the news. And I think it was Antoinette was answering the question about feminism and what that is and how they interpret women and things like that. Have conversations with your inner circles. Have conversations with your female friends. Listen to them and do not, stampede your thought processes upon them. Just don't just say, oh, I know what this is supposed to be. No, you don't. No, you cannot tell me best what it is about, like sanitary towels. You don't use them. Things like that. So if you see how that comes off, you also need to be able to pay more attention to some of these conversations. I think just to say that, and just ensuring that even in your workplace as well, ensure that you're also vying for your colleague who is amazing at what they do, and vice versa. If your male colleague is great, I would always say the first thing I think about is meritocracy, but I also know it's not for lack of availability of talents. Those two things are not working. They're not working, in silos. They're actually like side by side. You can act who has the merit, but also have someone who is really, really talented, and they can be both and be female. So just making sure that maybe they don't talk as much as you do, maybe they don't have the same pizzazz, they don't have the same energy, their shoulder does not move like this when they walk, doesn't mean that you shouldn't vie for them, especially when it comes to the work that is being done. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up today. I honest to God, don't want this meeting to close, but I'm just gonna say it's like, you know, when you go for drinks with your girls and everyone's having a good time. It's like, yo, should we go home now? It's like, no, let's wait till like 11. Before you know it's 2 a.m. and you're like,
or do
but it was a
mama
good time. So, but I'm really glad, and that's what makes it very, very, I mean, that's what I choose to, you know, look at when I look at these things is it's not forced, it's not like we're pretending we need to tick off today off the list, then go back to your regular behavioral display as usual, like the way Anto and Onyeka and everyone else has talked about on this call. So I'm just really glad that happened, and I hope that we've taken most of the things that have been said today and just put it into our day-to-day. And by next year, I hope that the conversation is not the same. It's literally like different from this. So thank you so much, everyone. And I'm really, really glad and grateful that we're all on this call to be able to like wrap this up. Appreciative to all our panels, our opening and closing speakers, you guys are amazing. We could not have done this without you, and Ingressive Capital appreciates you for taking out your time. Well, some of you started from the beginning and here you are to the end, you know, so that's how you know it's real love. So yeah, thank you so much and have a good rest of your day, morning, evening, wherever you are. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.